it under control. There's not some solution around the corner. Mr. Trump doesn't have a magic wand any more than Mrs. Clinton or Mr. Obama did or could have had. It's a system spinning out of control, and more people are getting dimly, slowly, because it's scary, the notion that their real options and choices in this life are whether to go down with it. Finally, what's the option? What's the option? Again, there is an option. I learned today of a group of cab drivers in Austin, Texas, 360 of them, who just formed a cooperative taxi business. They were successful in driving Uber and Lyft out of Austin. They were there, they're gone, and in their place is this worker cooperative that has set up in Austin, Texas, to run that business. And that business is attracting worker co-ops quite a bit. Our little organization, Democracy at Work, is working with one in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is likewise trying to set up this kind of business. Why do I talk to you so much about worker co-op businesses? Because it's an alternative to capitalism. It's a way out. It's something to do. It's a direction to take to get out of this mess which is deteriorating and presenting us with the Trumps of this world. You know that Trump is not unique. The establishment in England thought that everybody would vote to stay in Europe. They didn't. It's the exact same story. If I understand correctly, the liberal socialist president of France currently gets an approval rating of 4%, which is an achievement. I don't believe any leader has ever achieved this before. And wow. He's a socialist in the sense he went along with everything. He didn't think there would be anger and upset against going along, saying that at least he's not as bad as the conservatives in France, and he isn't. Just like the Democrats here aren't as bad as the Republicans. They aren't. But we're not at that anymore. That won't work. That won't cut it anymore. It's done. And Mr. Hollande is discovering that, to his sorrow. The Syriza government in Greece is on the edge of discovering the same thing. The Portuguese government, which I believe I've told you is an alliance of the communist, socialist, and green parties. That's the government of Portugal. I'm sure you all knew that, right? That the government of Portugal is a coalition of those three parties, because the press in this country would want you to know that the people of Portugal made that decision in their last election. Yes, they did. They're all worried. They don't know where to go. Let me be so bold. Here is where you go. You develop a worker co-op sector. You say, this is a way for you to have a job where the job and the security and the income are the number one priority, not profit. You're not driven by profit first and everything else later. Profit is second or third or fourth. First is the quality and the quantity of the relationships and the security and the income of your workplace. That's a worker co-op. It's what it's always been designed to be. Build that sector of an economy. Let the people in this society begin to see what that's like, and they'll vote with their feet. That's where they'll go and shop. Just like they now, some of you shop for fair-traded coffee. Wouldn't you shop for something that said made in a worker co-op in a democratically run enterprise rather than a top-down one that uses child labor in Indonesia, etc., etc.? Come on. A democratic enterprise? What an interesting slogan in a country that takes democracy seriously, or says it does, to democratize the enterprise. Make democracy there. Get rid of the autocrats at the top. You know, you could throw the desks into the river and call it a tea party. Why not? Let me close with reminding you of what has been done in a country very like our own, Great Britain. For those of you that I've told this before, bear with me. Britain has two parties like the United States. They're not called Republican Democrat, they're called Conservative and Labor Party. The second party is the Labor Party, sort of like our Democratic Party, and the Conservatives are like our Republicans. The Labor Party has a Bernie Sanders of its own. The man's name is Jeremy Corbyn, C-O-R-B-Y-N. I believe that's how it's spelled, C-O-R-B-Y-N. He has been elected now twice in a year because the center of their party, like the center of the Democratic Party, was very upset with their Bernie Sanders, and so they tried to get rid of him. So they had a second election in the year. He did better in the second election than he did in the first, so they couldn't get rid of him. He's the head of the Labor Party. Why am I telling you this? Because the Labor Party in England has a program commitment. This is what it will do if it wins the election, which is scheduled for 2017 or maybe 18, I don't know, either next year or the year after. Here's the commitment. It will become law, if the Labor Party wins, that any enterprise in England, any enterprise that either contemplates closing or moving out of the country or becoming a public company in the sense of issuing shares, a public offering, any company that plans to do any of those things will be required by law to give their own workers the right of first refusal to buy the company. That the company cannot close, cannot move, and cannot sell itself to any other company, that's another thing, can't do that, without first giving the workers the right to take the place over and run it as a worker co-op. Only if the workers refuse will the company be free to explore those other options. Plank number 2, the government pledges to provide the money to enable the workers to buy the company in order to create in England a worker co-op sector of the economy. And for those of you who don't know, such a sector of a capitalist economy already exists. Spain has it through the Mondragon experiment, and Emilia-Romagna, that district of the state inside Italy, also has that. So we already have examples of it. We have the examples, we know how to do it, we know where it's been done, we have the expert, we can do this. There's only the political will in this country to advance such a program and to go to the people and say, this is a way out of a 40-year deterioration that is punctuated by the lunacy of these election campaigns. I have to leave, I can't stay. Thank you very much, and I hope I see you again in December.